each and every time, each and every Saturday, and each and every Sunday as well. So those of you who are here already, please make yourself feel very, very comfortable, because tonight's program is going to be a very, very interesting and very informative program indeed. All right? And remember, I keep saying, people, it's a program. It's not a show. All right? We are not in the show business here. Program denotes that it is much more of a professional level that we try to keep things here each and every time we have these engagements. All right? So yes, let us see if we can make a start here, because we know how time flies indeed. All right? We have already 70 plus persons that I can see on the live here with me. And so those of you who are here, your duty, your job, it is to basically share that live information. Share it with your friends. Share it with your contacts. Share it with persons who you think may know that want to listen and want to watch and want to participate as well. Share it with Dominicans. Share it with your friends. And so those of you who are here on this blessed rock, thank you very much. Those of you who are in the region, I know I have lots of folks in Antigua, St. Lucia, just basically call it the Eastern Caribbean belt. Listening each and every time, and I get feedback from you guys each and every time. So thank you for your eyes and ears. Also, those of you further afield, it's always a pleasure. Those of you, wherever you are, it's a global connection each and every Saturday about that time. So Dominicans, let's get to it straight without much delay. Owen Prosper, you are there. Griffo Daniel, Carol Olivachi Bruni, Rosie Mango, Bernadette Myla, Anitha Adams Bernard, Clyde Gregoire, Everson McGlaw, Naslin Dick, Hyacinth Thomas, Royston Francis, Martin John Baptist, San Joseph, Theodora Anthony, Dadrick Gordon, Usila Rui, Larry Lloyd, Usila Rui, yes, I think I mentioned that name already, Laurie, Xavier, Lawrence, John Baptist, Rosa Robinson, Medina House, Kingdom Citizen is watching here as well. Watson Duvini, that is Milner, Watson Duvini, Mali Austri, Paula Lupin, Danny M or Dini M, Brother Margel Durand, you're always there as well. I can see Alex Powell Bruno just tuned in. Alex, good evening to you, my brother, in a very, very special way indeed. You too, Alex, keep the fire burning for Dominica as well. One day, Alex, it will all come together. Alex know what I'm talking about. We have here Tia Shah Luis, you're there listening. Martin John Baptist, Rita Joseph, Deandra Corbett, Desiree John, Desiree A.W. John, that is Mrs. John, that is Patrick John's wife, former Prime Minister of Dominica. He brought us into what we call today independence. Thank you very much, Mrs. John, for your eyes and ears each and every time. We always appreciate you, all right, for your contribution as well. You made and still make and still making to country. Ian St. Marie, you're there. We also have Romancine Richie, Veronica Pascal, Janice Jacques, good evening to you, Janice. Albertine Regis, Teresa, Susanna Roll. Susanna, it's time for you to come back in, please. Huh? You have been out for much too long, Susanna. A very patriotic sister, Susanna Roll, out there somewhere in the cool. But she too, I can tell you, have been doing for her country each and every time. Cecilia Bedminster, another force to be reckoned with. That is Cecilia Bedminster. Long time to touch base, my friend. We also have Twao Williams. Yes, good evening to you. Robin Melba Donna, you're also there. Curlin Sanders, Ismael January, Medora, Jacinta Pear, Lafoy Julian, also there. Good evening to you, Lafoy, each and every time. Marigold Popo, you're there. Marshall, I call you already. We also have someone by the name of Grace Law. Very interesting social media handles, Grace Law is watching. Benedict Paul, Joseph Parillo is saying that he's locked in. Marvin James, Deborah Jules, Dorian Dorival, Gertrude Maxwell, Brother Dave Bertrand. We also have Jean Francis, Stephanie John Baptist, Robert Alexander, Franklin Timothy, Dorian Dorival, and the list goes on and on and on, folks. All right, so please, just before we take flight, as it were, please share that live. Asby Scotland, you're tuning in at this time. Good evening to you. Johnny B. Good says he's all ears. David Andre tuning in as well. So folks, in the interest of time, we have to get cracking here because we know how time really moves at pace here indeed. Natalie Sonwin, you're there. Thai Francis, you're also there. Folks, this week was a very interesting week, I must say, for me in certain respects. Let me just tell you some of what I was up to this week before we get into some of the more meatier matters for the program. Wednesday of this week, I took a little shout out, a little run out of Dominica. A short stay, that is a short stint, just one night. And I went to Barbados to see if I could, what I should say, retrieve, get back an American visa that I did something with, mistakenly that is. I had a 10-year American visa, but you know, when we were switching over, my friend Yusil Rui, good evening to you, Uronia Grant, you're calling her in as well. Yeah, when we were switching over to these machine-readable passports of ours in Dominica, what year was that? Last year? Last year it was, or year before. Time flies so fast. When I applied for that passport, the machine-readable one that is, I got that passport, but my visa, which I had, the American visa that is, was still attached to the old passport. And mistakenly, in doing some cleanup, for those of you who know me, I'm a very clean freak. And so papers hanging around and loose stuff hanging around, I normally do away with them very quickly. What I did not do is to check before I did away with that old passport. And here it was when I did away with it. The visa was attached to that old passport. So I had no choice but to, try and see if I could get back another. And so Wednesday of this week, I went to Barbados to see if I could accomplish that task. Thursday, I went in for the interview, and it went well enough, and I was successful at that. But I'm saying all that to say, folks, in that I'm a very, very observant person. And in that line with a lot of different nationalities across the globe, descended on that consulate in Barbados, in that embassy in Barbados. What I noticed that a lot of persons who were, and I'm saying what I see, I'm saying what I saw, sorry. A lot of persons who were from Venezuela, it came to me that the majority of them, or most of them, were denied. And that is what I noticed. Because I'm very observant. As a matter of fact, there are two colored papers that are issued to anybody applying for visa after the interview is done. And those who are given a yellow stub or a yellow paper, what I noticed was that these persons were not successful, at least this time. Those who were given these light blue papers, these persons were successful, at least this time around. And I had a discussion with a brother over there, just apprising him of the situation like I am apprising you now. And it was concluded that the country Venezuela, some of its citizens are really paying the price for the way in which the leadership or the leadership of the country is going about business. It's no fault of theirs. Some of them, that is the majority of them, but they are paying a heavy price. And so it joggled my mind back to my own country. And it had me to think for a couple of times, what about we in Dominica, who may be facing similar a situation as those folks in Venezuela? And so it's on that premise now that I want us to be cognizant of the fact that as the Labour Party, or what passes for Labour Party in Dominica, their slogan says, leadership matters, or leadership matter. Leadership indeed matter. And so we as a people, we have to help always put that leadership in check, because it is that leadership, their style, their action, or even their inaction, that we may be suffering as a result. And so it is always crucial, it is always critical for us to always hold our leadership. Whoever holds that leadership position, we always as a citizenry have to keep things in proper balance. There must be certain checks and balances that must be put in place. Is everybody hearing me properly on the live? Because I'm seeing at least one or two folks telling me that they're not hearing me, or they're not hearing me loud enough. Is everybody hearing me loud and clear enough? Let me just ascertain that before we move forward. Or is it that maybe these one or two people have to check their device? All right, so Marshall said he's hearing me loud and clear. Carol, okay, so as they say, the eye should have it in that regard. All right, so for those of you who are not hearing me loud and clear, you have to do something with your device. All right, either restart it or do whatever you need to do. Turn up your volume, whatever it is. Okay, good. So yes, it is. That is what I want to draw to attention. In that the leadership of our country, folks, it matters. And let us not be in a position like some of these folks from Venezuela that I took note of, for whatever reason, could not cut it on that day as it pertains to going in another man's land. For those of you who are very true to your conscience, you will know the type of leadership that have been espoused for the past 15 years thereabout. It is not one of a welcoming one as it pertains to the whole idea of democratic rule. A matter of fact, it is said, show me your friends, I will show you who you are. And our friends in Dominica, as it pertains to the leadership of the country now, it is these governments that are prone to demonstrating characteristics that are anti-democracy principles or democratic principles. And so we have to watch that, people. So we are in bed as a country. A matter of fact, we signed documents already officially, which a number of citizens in this country don't have a clue what we signed. We have already signed with China in terms of whatever it is, this memorandum of understanding. As to the details of this memorandum of understanding, a lot of persons don't know what is it. A matter of fact, I am speaking to you now and I'm very unclear as to what the government signed on my behalf with the People's Republic of China. And we all know China, in terms of the governance style, governance principles, they are not very democratic in nature. So that is one. A matter of fact, it would seem as if today, everything and anything that we have to do in this country, we have to sort of seek China's advice, their approval, or whatever it is, in terms of happenings or workings in this country. And so I am saying we are treading already a very, very dangerous, on very dangerous grounds. We well know our relationship with Venezuela, the same Venezuela I spoke of. A matter of fact, when Chavez was in power, when he was up and about, the Chavez we once knew, the vintage Chavez, he came to Dominica at least once, based on memory. And the type of treatment that he got in Dominica, it was, to me, I am saying, over and beyond. And on that trip Chavez made to Dominica, when they were basically doing whatever it is, this handing over ceremony with this thing at Jimit, this bulk at Jimit, this plant at Jimit, I remember categorically Chavez, I think a journalist asked him a certain question. Words to the effect, how is it that you, Chavez, continue to run Venezuela as this man that is basically the opposition is at bay? And he said, I'm not quoting him verbatim, but words to the effect, and that stayed with me, people. He said, in a nutshell, it is basically using the democratic process, but being very anti-democratic, using a lot of socialism principles and policies to execute through or with or by the democratic process. And so you can well understand now the sort of confusion that is there, the convoluted mess that is there. But it worked for him. So it is, to simplify, using the democratic process to get into power. And when you get into power, doing everything that is anti that process now to stay in power. That is what Chavez said to the Dominican journalist. I cannot remember who asked him. And what we are experiencing today, people, it is basically what Chavez said when he came to Dominica in terms of governance of this country. We have seen and we will see that what passes for government in Dominica, or the Labour Party in particular, they are using that process called the democratic process. But 95% of the things that they do to remain in power, as it were, it is anti that same process. And so we have now as a people to sort of unmangle ourselves from that mess, politically speaking. And so I only hope that our country, we will do what we have to do as a people, quick enough, soon enough, to not to fall in the category of Venezuelans who are in a country, want better for themselves, but cannot really see a way out. So we better watch that, because we are right there. We are already walking that line. As a matter of fact, some of the people in leadership position today used to call Chavez Uncle Chavez. So that means that there is something that he inculcated in them that they have learned, and now they are executing. All right, Dominicans? So I just said that as a preamble, just to get our mind warmed up as to where we are as a people and the possibility of where we may end up as a country if we don't take stock very, very quickly. All right. Having said that, let us touch now on some international matters, some regional matters, and obviously some local, national issues in terms of the context or the content of the program tonight. Those of you who have been following international news, people, we have been witnessing this war, I must say, between two sets of people that goes by the name of Hamas, or the Palestinian people. Well, Hamas is the leadership of the Palestinian people, and also the Israelites. What I know about war in terms of seeing it unfold, the number of suffering people, the number of deaths, the number of situations that pop up as a result of a war between two nations, it does not augur well for any of the parties involved. And I say that without reservation. So, be it Palestinians killing the Israelites or vice versa, it doesn't augur well. And I know some of you out there will want to justify whatever your rationale is by giving who is right or who you think is right or who you think is wrong in that whole fiasco. But I am saying, people, war does not necessarily have a right and wrong. There is suffering people. There are persons who are caught up between those crossfires, as it were. And these are the people that my heart goes out to. If these warmongers could be on a battlefield by themselves and they decide to kill each other off, so the soldiers decide, you know something, let us take it on an open playing field. And you have, combating sides doing their thing there, then that's fine. Because you chose to be part of that activity or that action. But my heart goes out to the young children on either side. My heart goes out to the elderly. My heart goes out to the ordinary man, woman, and child who is caught up in between what they say is a war, and they have no way out. Imagine the last count I got, I listened to on mainstream media, 60,000 plus persons on the Palestinian side already have succumbed. And another, whatever it is, not very proportionate, I must say, but at the end of the day, death is on both sides. 2,000, 3,000 on the Israelite side. And included in that, as I said, is babies, children, innocent children that cannot fend for themselves, that don't have a tomorrow or cannot see a tomorrow because of two sides cannot see each other. And the very sad thing about that situation and exactly where that war is unfolding as we speak, people. For those of you who are biblical, for those of you who are scriptural, for those of you who like to use the scripture, it is said that is in that part of the world, that part of the globe, that the person that you believe in walked, he taught. And that is very sad. So I know sometimes when I give my perspective on things, some persons like to say, Lofty, you are siding this or siding that. I'm not siding anybody. I am siding this. I'm on the side of the oppressed. And so the bombs and bullets and missiles and whatever it is, weapons that are coming across from Israel into Palestine, that must stop. The bombs and guns and weapons that are coming from Palestine into Israel must stop as well. And that is my position. But it would seem as if then the mightier one has an upper hand, and the world seems to be sitting by watching a genocide, I am saying, where persons are being slain on a daily basis. Before those genocides used to take place undercover. But now we are seeing it in real time on public televisions and on our smart devices. And some of us choose not to say nothing in defense of the oppressed. Imagine already, Dominica has what? 60,000 plus people, 70,000 plus people, they see. That number of people already died because of this war. All right? And so, in the interest of life, in the interest of civility, I hope that these two nations will find it within themselves somewhere. Some negotiation have to take place to end what I'm saying is this foolish war, where a number of lives have been lost innocently that should never be in the first place. That is dominating the headlines. We are still relieving from the Ukraine and Russia end of it as well. And so what does it really do? What justification is there for that sort of always at each other's throat with bombs and guns? Folks, that is over there. That is far, far, far over there. We may say, what Mr. talking about have nothing to do with us or with me in my country, Dominica, or with our country in the region. We now have people unfolding right before our very eyes. Venezuela and Guyana. And these two countries, they are in our space. They are in our region. And so don't think what is happening miles away don't have a tendency to ricochet here in our country or in our region. Because Venezuela is now setting up itself to basically take by military might the Essequibo region from Guyana, from the Guyanese people. And some of us, we still and say nothing. I heard the leaders of CARICOM met on Friday and they issued a statement. Basically, it's trying to put peace. But if you read the statement, if you kind of, navigate through the statement, if you find tooth comb, then you will see that the statement itself, it is lacking. The statement is very shallow, if you ask me. It is not as leaders helping really and truly to put peace in our region. It is just scratching the surface. And so it's like, your children at home, they start to have an issue between them, and it's like the parents come around and they give each one of them a little tap. That to me is how I took in that press release from the CARICOM leaders on the unfolding situation between Venezuela and Guyana. And for those of you who have been following, there was this court decision that basically said to Guyana, this region belongs to you. But Venezuela, I'm guessing now through its might, through its military mighty thing, wants to override this court decision and just grab this region from Guyana and claim it to be theirs. That is another situation, folks, we have to keep our eyes and ears on. And as a people, let us continue to be very watchful and urge our leaders that much more can be done, much more should be done, so that whatever is brewing there in our bosom doesn't escalate. Because we may not be feeling the pinch of Hamas and Israel and Ukraine and Russia to the extent, but if that one is left untended, then we may have something else to say. All right? Good. Dominicans? Yes. It is what, 10 to 7? Ten to 7. Let us now, Dominica, get to know our matters that may interest us a little more. And I'm talking about local matters now. We heard this week, Dominicans, from the police that one of their stations in St. Joseph was burglarized, they said. A thief or thieves got in there and took some weapons and ammunition from there and made good their escape. Now, just moving around the length and breadth of Dominica, a lot of you are saying, Lofty, is that a joke? It's not a joke. It's as real as daylight. That in 2023, a thief or thieves or an insider or insiders made good their escape with a number of ammunition and weapons belonging to the Commonwealth of Dominica. Now, for those of you who are lawmen, lawwomen out there, you hearing that story, I know it hit you the wrong way. Because the police, they normally tells you around, especially around festive time, Christmas, Carnival, whatever the occasion, when you go in, when you live in your house, you need to lock up properly. When you live in your car, you need to lock your car properly. Don't leave your bags, your purse, your jewelry, or whatever it is, in line of sight of persons who may want to do you harm and who may want to steal your stuff. So I'm asking that same question of the police. Are they not adhering to the same or similar advices that they give us ever so often? Folks, let us break that down to a science so we can understand what is happening. You have a police station. A police station is a public place. It is supposed to be, if not one of the most secure places in any community. Whilst you may have your house or your home, your dwelling, your residence, and there may not be people there at certain times of day, a police station, on the other hand, like a hospital, supposed to be, there's supposed to be at least one person there present every time. So there should be no excuse. It cannot cut it for a police station to be without an officer there anytime somebody shows up. That is point number one. I want us to get it. So this crap about the police station was empty, there were no officers there at the time, that cannot cut it. Not in 2023, people. That's point number one that I want us to get it. So when whoever would make good and go out of a police station with ammunitions and ammo, something is fundamentally wrong about that situation. Point number one. And so, point number two to follow up. Whoever that was supposed to be on duty that day, to me in my books, you know, you should not even be reporting to work until a proper, thorough investigation is carried out, and let the chips fall where they may. So these people, because it cannot be one policeman that was supposed to be on duty. That is a no-no again. When they send out these officers, they send them out by two, by pairs. That is common practice. So it cannot be one police woman or man that was supposed to be in the station at that day or on that day at that time. Never. Two or more. So these two or more supposed to be answering questions as we speak. And I am saying, I'm going further, they are supposed to be on leave pending the outcome of an independent investigation. They cannot be part of that investigation All they have to do is to report to answer questions. Now, these are those on duty or supposed to be on duty. Let's broaden it. There are people who are supposed to be in charge of those on duty. What do you call them? Supervisors, inspectors, whatever they be. Whatever their rank and name is in the force. Those who are supposed to be in charge of that district, of that police station in that local, they too, I am saying, needs to be called in, questioned as well. And yes, same predicament there we. Because you have that title, you have that position for something, for a reason. So the very same way, when our governance of our country goes awry, we hinge it on leadership. I am saying tonight, when something like that happens, which not supposed to happen, it has to go back to leadership. And so whoever is in charge or was in charge have to answer some questions now. Now I heard Blackmore, I heard Carbon came out to the public and made some utterances in the public. And to me, I did not hear them speak with enough clarity about that matter or going into that matter. Obviously, security reasons, you cannot come and belch everything in the public. I understand that. But the public was supposed to be clearly informed as to the next 1, 2, 3 steps that would be taken to arrest that situation or future situations like that. I did not hear that. And so, Mr. Carbon, who is supposed to be in charge of the police now around the country, his leadership style needs to now come into question as well. The way that he mans the police force. The one after him, what's his name? I forgot his name now. They have all kind of positions these days. Valerie is one position, Corbett is another, Carbon is another. These people supposed to be also put in that loop as well as to their management capability, one, and also their effectiveness in running the department called the police in Dominica. And so it is when situations like that happen, we understand better what may be happening with institutions like this. To stretch it further, because it is said, the apple or the grapes don't fall far from the trees. And when the apple or grapes fall very close to the tree, the seeds, if they stay there long enough and they fall on fertile soil, they tend to germinate. And so if it's an apple seed, you get an apple tree. If it's a grape seed, you get a grape tree. And I'm saying that to say, Rayburn Blackmore now, I am asking you a direct question. What is happening today is part of the seed or seeds that you, Rayburn Blackmore, have sown into the whole security architecture of the state now. Because we heard in the public domain, and Blackmore as the Minister of National Security have never come and deny or say anything in defense or in agreement to what was said publicly about him and his action or actions against another or others where the law was concerned. And so that is a stain, Sasio Tash, as the patois lingo tell us, against not just Blackmore, but the whole security apparatus now of our country, Dominica. And so for those of you who forgot, when you had Reginald Austri, which I played there already for you guys to hear, saying that the allegations made against Blackmore were so egregious, they were so heinous, but he and the other ministers, they are standing with Blackmore 100%. There is this song. I cannot remember who sang that song, but it's from ours. It's from we. Which said, Mama maje wezen dan zafa glasi, meaning the mother eat grapes or ate grapes, and it's the teeth of the children that is in discomfort. I am paralleling that to now. Is it as a result of the kind of lawless behavior now that goes on into the governance of the country now? We are now reaping the rewards of the fruits that we have sown. I'm just asking that question, people, because this question, it is not far-fetched of a question to be asked. So when you are hearing and when you are seeing your government and your government officials are partaking in all sorts of corrupt behaviors, stealing of elections in big, broad daylight, giving one and doesn't give another, using Dominica's money to their own whims and fancy, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on, where one man who said no law, and a lot of you took that statement casually, no law, no constitution can prevent me from doing what I want in 2009. Some of us stood, we listened, and we did not understand the gravity and the ramifications of that statement. So is it the seeds that we have sown that we are reaping the fruits today? When a person or people can walk into a police station that is supposed to be a secure place, you would want to think Envolé would want to steal anywhere else but the police station. But when thieves or enablers would become so brazen and would plot and scheme to take arms and ammo from a police station, people, then you know we are not in a right place. We are not. And so based on what I am hearing thus far, it is very, very crucial for that situation to be stamped out and never reoccur again by anyone. Imagine people, you have police with their M16 in their hand, and they use that as a form of intimidation to intimidate the Dominican public with their long guns and the SLRs and the this and the that. And you have some persons in the public now are in possession of this, not similar, same weapons. Can you guys start to wrap your heads around that, people? An M16 is not a toy. These weapons that whoever took or whoever is not toys. And so the police themselves, they must be very, very concerned now for even their own safety. Because having these weapons out there, it can cause, or they can cause, incalculable damage to anyone and everyone standing in their way. But let us see, my people, how that situation unfolds. From the grapevine, I am hearing that there is somebody in, and they are being questioned about that situation as to whether or not it will be brought to a solution. I don't know. But I just needed to give us a more broad perspective of the whole criminality aspect now in the country when we hear crimes are occurring in the country. So you have from top down. You have from top down the whole criminality aspect. It pervades the land. It seeps through the different cracks. And so it is no surprise that we are now witnessing for ourselves the end result of those things we tolerate. Let's keep our eyes and ears glued, Dominicans. We have to move apace. It is now 7:10. Dominicans, okay, before I go into the next item on the agenda, which is the very brutal situation that occurred in the south of the country, let me now pause, take a little breather, and go through some of your comments and see if we can have a little rapport back and forth. And then in the next 10 minutes, 5 minutes about, we will get into the other aspect. Christian Volney says, too much zeze and tululu. What's that? That left in Dominica. Valda Ilwa says, prayers up for my Dominica. I agree with you, Valda. But prayers itself, prayers alone cannot cut it. Because the good book that you're quoting from about prayers, it says prayers without works or faith without works. Which is prayer? Faith is a form of prayer, or prayer is a form of faith. It says that without the works is dead. So a lot of us like to say pray for Dominica, but we need to add another element, which is a crucial element to that. Pray for Dominica and let us do what we can do for Dominic as well. And as I keep saying, never underestimate the power of your spark. So if you're an elderly lady in Maho, you can pray for Dominica, but you can inculcate in your children the right and wrong. You can tell them what you knew about Dominica and how they should go. That is a form of action. You're speaking into your children. So you may not have the energy to do like somebody like me or someone else. But even right on your bed, you can do some sort of action to help this country. So never think that your action is inadequate or it doesn't count. If you know your neighbor is doing something anti-Dominica, pull up your neighbor and say, neighbor, that is not good. They may continue, but you have done your part. You never know where your action can end up or where it may lead. Don't be so passive. We have a sort of passive kind of thing in Dominica. It's like everything we just cool with everything. Everything can be cool. So prayer, yes, but we need to do as well. That is my philosophy. God cannot save Dominica. Dominica said to stand up and remove Skerrit and the Labour Party from power. Christian Volney. Marcelin Edwards says, Lofty dear, I just saw the police tore down the placards of Levi Peter Musgrove group of 4 women recently. Imagine the serious crimes committed on the land while they stalk women and other elderly people. Yes, Marcelin, I saw that myself. And but what I must say, Marcelin, and I'm a very objective person. If these placards were in the hands of these protesting ladies and the police came and took them like they did, I would have much more to say. So putting a placard on what is considered to be a public emolument, the police, I am saying they were in their right to pull it down. Some persons may not like me, but I speak my mind every time. I remember clearly well, we were outside Parliament maybe in 2000 and whenever, protesting against DBS radio. And we lined Victoria Streets, looking towards DBS radio and protesting and speaking about the ill that DBS had done to we as a people at the time. And here it is, some of our placards were on the step of the parliamentary building. This James brother, very short brother, he works in Parliament, forget his name. He came out and he said, guys, you know something? Please remove you guys placards or posters or whatever it is on the steps of the Parliament. Obviously, some of the protesting people with me on the day, started this back and forth and agitation and whatever it is. But I thought about it. I said, guys, let good sense prevail. Number one, our qualm is not with Parliament, at least for that occasion. And it is on Parliament's property, which is the people's property. But you don't want that distraction. Let us remain focused. Let us remove these placards there and continue on our mission. And so I'm just saying, protests can be much more effective by what we do or what we don't do sometimes. And that should be a learning curve for anybody, more so the women protesting against Levi Peter. That's my take. Where we are. We need to fight to save our country. That is Yvonne Ebel is saying this here. In terms of some more comments, I'm just looking for some names I haven't called us yet. Dave Bertrand says, double meaning. What is pleasing to the mother is that the daughter is happy to partake and enjoy the seal. The mother ate the grapes and the children teeth sour. Okay, I guess that was what we spoke of before. Everlasting Peter says, from AM to PM, we jerking and joking from station to station. The police. that's a Calypso line, Brother Peter. From AM to PM, we jerking and joking. From station to station, the police ain't working. A matter of fact, Calypso elimination starts tonight, people. So, Brother Peter, you may want to send that one in, give that to somebody, and you never know. They may make the elimination phase tonight. Daphne, you said good night, good evening to you as well, Daphne. Good to have you around. Alex Batley says, oh, lest we don't move those teeth from, we will never get better. All right? Alex Batley, calling someone a thief is a very, very serious allegation. So if you have your facts unadulterated, that is, then we can have a conversation. All right? But I am not in the business of calling anybody names and don't have my facts or relative or relevant documents, that is, to back it up. All right? Though their actions, it is right there for everybody to see. But you know how these things work. All right? Margel Durant says, solution Lofty, dismiss all of them. Well, I guess Margel is talking about the police situation. Maggie Irish says, remember Skerritt said he knew who tampered with the towers at Melville Hall. You think he doesn't know who took the guns? Well, yeah, I remember that very well, Irish. Thanks for bringing me back memory lane. I know people. La Rock says, talking about a revolution time, Tracy Chapman. Yes, I know that track from Tracy. Very, very timely song as well. Kingdom Citizen says they're too busy troubling Wednesday walkers rather than securing the police station. Who else we have? Franklin Timothy said Bells, Combo, Halibut, Mama Margie Wizen, Danzafa, Classy. Yes, all right. Thank you, Timothy, for that. TC Gordon says we are still sowing seeds of fear and cowardice. All right. David Langcloss, is that, says to fix crime, you make an example of the ones that do the crime. And I agree with you very much. Marceline says, come back and say, if that's the case, why did they do nothing with the Jonathan Lira blocking the public road in Coolibri Ridge? Well, Marceline Edwards, you know, or you ought to know much better than me what we're dealing with in Dominica, where connectivity is concerned. But that is what we are going to get into now, Marceline. So you may hear some things that will sort of put the icing on the cake for you. Just why that man did what he did in the Soufriere Scott said constituency area over a number of times, and it ended up with this very heinous crime. It is alleged now he and his co-conspirator did. Okay, it is what, 20 minutes past 7? Just about 40 something minutes to go. Remember, we started at 15:15. So we have like 55 more minutes. Dominicans, I want to pay some time. I want to put your attention now on that scenario that Marceline Edwards hinted to a while ago, and let us spend some time to sort of, just do a little deeper introspection as to what really transpired, what could have been done to avoid that situation, and just where Dominica is at now, where we as a people we are at now. We can go way, way, way back in terms of starting. Way back. But what I can tell you people, from a position of fact, because I heard a lot of people saying that it is suspected that the one accused, he is a passport agent, passport seller. It is a position of fact, people, that yes, this brother is, as we speak, still a passport seller. Now I say that to say, because if you go on the government's website where these passports are being offered for sale, his name is still there under Bois Cotlet, doing business as an agent. Now, I am not too acquainted with the process, but I would want to think, people, one of the criteria of being or keeping that position as a passport seller is that if you find yourself afoul of the law, be it convicted or an allegation is made against you, trust me, that process is supposed to be fast-tracked, and at least in the first instance, your name or your business or whoever is attached to doing business with you as a passport peddler of the country, that's supposed to cease immediately. And so to me, after a number of days, having this man's name involved in, I am saying still, allegedly involved in a crime against another, a heinous one at that, his name, at least 24 hours, should not have elapsed. And his name not taken down from that site. So that is problem number one. That is problematic situation number one. So is it a situation when you become a passport peddler of the country? How long does it take for you to be removed from the pool of passport peddlers? And I'm being very deliberate here. To me, they say agents, but these are passport peddlers. They are passport hustlers. You know, if you're selling something on the street and you want it to go, you hustle the business. And so that is what I'm seeing. That is what I'm noticing in the country in terms of these persons who are enrolled by the government to sell or to peddle passports. So that's point number one. At least his name, Jonathan Lira, or whatever his name is, supposed to have been struck down already from that register. So are we serious about curbing crime? Are we serious about curbing crime? It is said, from the public standpoint now, people, there were a number, my brother in Kenya would say, times without number. That is to show you the number of times that this brother in question today that was arrested last week for that crime, a number of reports were made to the same police by villagers, by constituents, and by the deceased himself against this brother. A number, not one, not two, not three, a number. What did the police do? I'm being told from very reliable sources, they always played it down, like as if, well, it was not something of importance to them. So when you had cruise visitors visiting our shores in Dominica, came to spend their money in Dominica to benefit the country, and they would be in the Soufriere area, that Coulibaly area, and this brother, it is said, would be chastising these cruise visitors. Reports were made, nothing happened. The authorities were alarmed of this situation over and over again. And I need to stress that, people. So it wasn't just a one-off situation. It wasn't just a snapping that happened up there. You know, sometimes when you do something, some of you that watch these forensic movies and what are these documentaries, some people snap and they get away because of these snapping situations. It's like they're out of their mind at that time. They did something and boom, it happened. They pay, yes, but not as severe. That wasn't the case. If, for want of a better term now, a less fortunate brother or sister is in Roseau or any part of Dominica harassing a tourist in Dominica, they will be harassed by the police. They will be. In more severe cases, more strenuous cases, they will be arrested by the police and maybe brought to court. And you mean to tell me a passport peddler has been harassing people, tourists at that? I come to the locals as yet. Tourists at that, affecting our tourism industry. And the tourism minister would come today with crocodile tears and would be crying as if she knew not what was happening. Dennis Charles, I always call it as it is. I always call it as it is, be it good, bad, or ugly. And those tears that you shed, very crocodile in nature, I am saying now, these were very hypocritical in nature. That is it. Because you knew, as Minister of Tourism, the dilemma, or part of the dilemma that was going down in the Coulibaly Ridge area, where this brother and your people who came to our shores that were directly under your watch for protection, you knew. And you did nothing as Minister of Tourism to protect your ministry. And you're coming around today. You're coming around today with such hypocrisy, my friend. Fire burn that. And I say that without any reservation. Why? I told you, or I am telling you, you knew. Added to the harassment, I am being told from the grapevine, cannot get closer than that, that this brother, the one accused, wrote letters, a number of letters, to the captains of certain cruise lines, certain cruise ship, and the management of certain cruise people who come here to our shores. Basically, he was telling them bad things about Dominica and why they should not put their foot here and spend any money here. And those circulars, as they call them, those letters, your ministry must have known about these letters. I am alleging now, maybe you, and I'm asking you, if you were part and parcel of any mission that had to be mounted to go and pacify these people who these letters were directed to save that industry from this brother. I'm asking you. But I know these letters were written. And so anybody writing a letter or letters like that is working against the state of Dominica. And all action, any action, should be taken to stop these acts immediately. And the Ministry of Tourism that had the responsibility in the first instance to do that, they did nothing. And in some instances, only offered a slap on the wrist. Don't do that. You're hurting the country. That was the kind of posture and attitude that some of you guys took when these letters went out. And I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So when that crime occurred, people, and you are now seeing and hearing all Tululu, now I call them, come up from their hole and spring in their head and Ella, Ella, Ella. These Ellas should have been before. Those of you who had the privilege to watch, to see the accused and his accomplice brought to court, the magistrate's court last when? Thursday or Wednesday, whenever day. It says a picture. See my picture you see now? It is worth 1,000 words, it is said. But I normally say a picture is worth 1,000 words and more. Whatever more you choose to put it. And so just the sight of the accused and his accomplice being brought to the magistrate's court to answer those charges in the name of murder with intent. That sight said it all. I am not telling anybody how to act or how not to act. But those of you who study psychology, those of you who study human behavior, and I do a little sometimes. These people, their behavior, their posture said a lot whilst they said nothing. Go back after we discuss tonight. Go back look at it again. And come up with your own judgment as to what I'm trying to impart to you now. About we're not talking about case, just their posture in the public. Dominicans, let me tell us something. And I'm going to say that tonight, being the 9th of December, 2023, at about, my clock says 25 to 8 o'clock. If you don't hear nothing I say tonight, hear that. If outside help, let me qualify that help, outside professional help is not requested and be brought into this country to help piece that puzzle of that murder or that homicide, let me use the proper term, together, then I can tell you, this case, heinous as it may be, the persons who are alleged to have committed these crimes may just walk. Take that from me, Dominicans. I am not living in La La Land like some of you. I am living in the Commonwealth of Dominica, where things are done a certain way, where decisions are given a certain way, where things are expected in a certain way. And so if from inception all these allegations were swirling around this common denominator called Mr. Jonathan in Dominica, and very little action was taken to curb this situation, my people, then don't expect it to get any better with the same actors at play. I don't like to go on speculation. I like to go on the facts. Someone called me last Sunday. I think these guys were arrested Saturday. Yes, because Saturday when I was doing the live with us, I got the notification that they were arrested in Grand Bay, trying to flee the country. Sunday, the day after the arrest, someone in the know called yours truly and said, Lofty, as we speak, and I am a noter of time and dates, it was about 10 minutes after 4 o'clock. As we speak, the person said, there is a lawyer. And that person's word, I can take it to the bank. If I couldn't take it to the bank, I wouldn't be telling it to you. As we speak on Sunday, 10 past 4, a lawyer, the person said to me, was on the property, ensuring that the property was secured. Now, that is what the person could report. As to what else transpired by that lawyer or lawyers or other people, I'm not going there. That place, exactly where that lawyer was at the time, it was supposed to be, or it is supposed to be, very instrumental as part of the investigation moving forward. So for crying out loud, why, just why, would a lawyer that may be part of the case now or even moving forward in the future would want to present themselves on that site, which is supposed to be an integral site as that investigation moves on, to suggest that they are securing that property? Just why? And so I go back to what I said before, people. Unless and until outside professional help is brought in to help solve this crime, where 2 people got killed, shot, I'm being told, then acid was thrown on their body in their vehicle, and then that vehicle was set ablaze. If that help is not brought in, I heard Blackmore suggesting that. Let us hope Blackmore, the security minister, is true to his word. If that help from a professional standpoint is not brought in, we are looking at 2 people allegedly committing that heinous crime, walking. The 9th of December 2023. When anybody, let's continue on here. When anybody is arrested and charged for a crime, and they are supposed to be brought to the court, be it high court, low court, center court, whatever court, on the bayfront, it is the norm that this green modified Chinese vehicle with metal bars on the inside protecting the glass, they are placed in these vehicles and brought to the magistrate's court or high court. On the day in question, the world could see these 2 brothers alleged of committing that crime. They were brought in, should I say a tourist bus? But to me, it looked as if, well, they were on the bayfront already. It looked to me as if it was 2 tourists that were taking a ride and they were about to go up to Trafalgar Falls. That's how it looked to me. Because these brothers were brought to court, unlike any other Dominican, in a bus that is assigned to the Health Ministry of Dominica. A bus that has very little or no security measure or measures put in place. And so the officers that took the risk of bringing down these brothers, these 2 white men in that bus, to court on that day. I don't know who gave them the orders to do that, but whoever as police officers sat in that bus with them, I can tell you guys, your life or lives were at risk. And that is where people, you as a human being have to stand for what is right. I could never be a police officer, my commander, my superior, my commissioner, giving me orders to bring 2 prisoners to court, because they were prisoners then, to court in that unsecure vehicle as it was then. I am taking out my hat. If you so insist, I'm taking out my hat. I'm giving you your badge. I'm giving you your baton if I have one. I'm giving you whatever it is, resting it on your desk, and I'm telling you, bye-bye. That is well. You who know better should do better. And it is this kind of a hanky-panky business, softening and bending of the rules, one against each other, that does end us up in these kind of predicaments. So I'm only saying that because maybe these officers in their mental faculties were not right. So I'm saying that for them to hear me. You guys' lives were at risk. If you guys knew jolly well the type of crime that was committed there, allegedly by these 2 brothers, and you took your own free will and put your life in that kind of danger, and then, my friends, you don't love yourselves. Now, I'll be very fair. I don't know. I cannot pledge for that, whether they were brought into the magistrate's court on that bus, or whether they were on that bus and they were handcuffed. I cannot pledge for that. I don't know that. But it would suggest that they were not. I only saw them in handcuffs. I would want to think when the charge was read to them and they had to be reprimanded at the state prison. That's when I saw 2 of them, they were cuffed together. So again, if they were not cuffed together coming into that scenario, that again is a sort of partial treatment that Dominicans, the ordinary Joe Blow that finds themselves involved with the court, it's not meted out to them. And so, just from that angle, I am asking, why the preferential treatment? Why? Is there something or some things happening behind the scenes that the public is not aware of? I am asking. Let me go back to the point that I made before about seeking professional help to bring that crime to some sort of closure in the interest of justice. The police officers who went on the scene initially to investigate the matter when the villagers / farmers told them about their sightings of that charred vehicle. When the officers went on the scene, the officers basically, some of them, they were of the conclusion that that case itself, Dominica, they in Dominic as police, cannot properly identify anybody. That is the state in which the bodies were, or what was left of the bodies of these 2 people. the police stomach turned upside down, inside out, because they were really wondering what is it that they were witnessing. And with acid, it is said, being poured on a body, it goes to show us the meditation, the mindset that went into whoever it is that perpetrated that crime. So as I said before, there was no snapping. Pouring acid on flesh, on that, it will eat it up. When you're talking about fire as yet, it will just, the acid will have its way with flesh, like piranhas eating on something. So when you have acid being poured on bodies, dead bodies, I'm being told, after they were shot, and their vehicle or a vehicle was set ablaze with whatever chemical that was added to the acid to ensure that the evidence, which is so crucial in compiling it together and making a case, be done away with to the T. You have to understand the mindset of whoever it is that perpetrated these crimes. And so, I am telling you people, when you tell an officer in Dominica, somebody come and, as we say in Dominica, voila inside your house, or somebody come inside your house, take your whatever, you know, they normally come with their little handbag on their side and their little dust thing. Whatever it is they come with. Your little dust broom or whatever. And the dust in your handle of your door, the dust in your wherever, the fridge door, the dust in your cupboard door, I'm telling you, they lifting up print in the process. And when they're done with you, you can say that case is done. Because nothing absolutely comes from that type of investigation. So to me, it is like paper cups we're dealing with. Paper cups. There's not enough of what we need in Dominica to solve this kind of crimes. No, and I say that outrightly. Gunny Manuel in 2009, his house was gutted in fire. They said they had a suspect. They said they had gas container. They said they had shoe print. They said they had this. They said they had that. Gunny Manuel gone to his grave and did not see justice on this side of life. And what happened to Gunny Manuel was a crime. And this one makes Gunny Manuel crime like a walk in the park. So if a Gunny Emmanuel fire bombing situation you guys could not resolve and solve in the interest of justice, am I going to put a loaded weapon now, as it were, in the hands of a child and say, go play in the park? And so I have absolutely none confidence in our police force in Dominica to do anything in terms of helping solve that crime. None. Zero. Zilch. And so that is where we now come in as a citizen We have to impress on the powers that be, not just talk about help, but really and truly get the help, because the help is out there. And I would want to thank this brother being a Canadian citizen. The Canadian authority would really do what they have to do in the interest of their citizen now to help bring that case to justice. Because leaving it for Dominica and Dominica's authority, nothing will be done. A guy told me this week, Lofty, some perpetrator came into my house. And that one I found funny. But I that's how ridiculous it gets in Dominica. The perpetrator got into this brother's house, stole whatever he stole. The brother have CCTV footage of the person, can identify the person going in, coming out with the goods. And up till now, they are waiting on the same police to bring that perpetrator to justice. So did the family of Mr. Daniel and his partner, I am making a special appeal to you guys through this medium. Please, not for 1 second, leave it up to the Dominican authorities to help solve this crime. No way. No way. Because you guys will be very, very troubled at the end of the process. And I can say that comfortable as a Dominican, because that is where I live, that is where I'm bred, that is where I see things go on in a particular order and manner. Five to 8. We have to be out in a while. There's much more in the tank, people, about that same scenario. So we may continue next week. Mr. Daniel and his partner, but Daniel in particular, he was like an angel on earth, I'm being told. Obviously, everybody have their flaws. No one is perfect. But in the scheme of things, Daniel was an angel in or on this country, Dominica. And it was his plan, for people who knew him very well, it was his plan to retire in Dominica. A matter of fact, he started to feather his nest in that department. And this brother was no 2x4 man, I'm being told. Microsoft, mega Microsoft as a company, went in some sort of arrangement with this brother and bought over something from him that he was very instrumental in bringing about. And that is where technology is concerned. This brother's death, it basically resonated on the ground in Canada. The international media, those of whom have not picked up yet, are now starting to pick up on a man of that caliber being gunned down, well, being harassed first, being gunned down, thereafter it is said, acid poured upon, and then burned to death. Slaves did not used to, as we read, go through those situations. Not even slaves. So they are now picking up slowly but surely, and they're all asking the question, but what sort of country is that? I saw outside Wednesday morning, yes. When these alleged people were about to be brought in, the Canadians were on the ground, some of the reporters were on the ground live, reporting back to base as to what was going on in real time with the death of one of their own. A number of other news networks now, NBC is the latest one I saw, picked it up, ran a story. And your country, my country, is being mentioned as the place where that situation occurred. I don't know how much bad of a press could we get again. I really don't know how low it can get, or lower it can get. So when we in the country are pussyfooting around, are playing games, are mimicking, are doing whatever we are doing to not put things in order where law and order is concerned, that is sometimes the result. And you see, there is this sort of now hands-off approach. It is too hot for, the majority of people to handle. So everybody's sort of staying away. Who come forthcoming in a very crocodile and hypocritical manner? Those who have come forth so far. So that was Jonathan and Mr. Daniel in their tuaka. For years, a court decision came down in the interest of Mr. Daniel, the deceased. And the court basically gave him unfettered rights to the road, to the property, to the road. But not even that could stop his death. A matter of fact, to me, that aggravated his death. And so when you have a man, it is said, swinging gun, brandishing gun or guns at people, foreigners as well as locals alike, not to pass on a piece of road that rightly belongs to Dominicans. Where the hell you come out? Where you come out as a passport peddler, whatever it is that can be attached to your name, and want to deprive me from passing or walking in my country? Dominicans, sometimes you guys are too soft. That situation should have never descended into that. And think what you may about my next statement or statements. The communities should have dealt with that situation if the police and the law and the authority were not dealing with it. Let me repeat. The communities, and when I say communities, the people in those communities should have dealt with that situation head on. If the law, the police, and the authority were not dealing with it. It cannot be you come out from wherever you come out and want to deny me my rights to walk in my country. I am not walking on your private property. I'm not. A public road is a public road. Anybody, everybody should have unfettered access to a public road. And that foolishness should have stopped, should have been nipped in the bud early days. And I'm not preaching violence. I'm just calling a spade a spade. If this man was made to run out from this property, he would have asked himself a question. By the citizenry now, the government, your government, had its fair share to play in Daniel's and his partner's death. And let me drive it home now for you before we end. Your government had its fair share to play in the death of Daniel and his partner's death. You see that road, people? That road that was the common denominator for the problem between these two people. Find out what the government did or did not do as it pertains to that whole road project, especially after Hurricane Maria. I can tell you, Daniel was not, and I repeat, he was not by any stretch of the imagination a corrupt individual. And so those who tried to corrupt him through the government circles and could not, then they basically gave up on him. And they left him for the wild wolves to deal with him. And when that case will be ventilated properly, you guys will know some of what I'm talking about. And some of these quote-unquote honorable, as Blessings would call them, criminals, they know exactly where I'm going now. So is it a case the government and its handlers were playing one against the other, and the one against the other was Mr. Daniel and Mr. Jonathan? Was that the case? Hence, the very unfortunate unfolding demise of Daniel. So don't think your government is not part and parcel of what went down. They say dead men tell no tales. So Daniel is not there anymore to tell his story. But there is a story. And the road is part of that story. Ask the people from planning department what they did or did not do. Ask the minister involved or have the authority over planning division. What did he do or what he didn't do? When that road was the subject matter for discussion over and over again. Whose money did the road after Maria? Whose money did the road after Maria? The same road in question. Who wanted that road not to be done? Who wanted the road to remain in a very dilapidated state? Who wanted to fix that road? Who fixed the road finally? More questions than answers. In time, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. And so don't think your government is, they may want to wash their hands like Pilate clean. They are not. They are not. I repeat, they are not as pure as they want you to think in that whole scheme of things. They are not. And so maybe now, some consciences are ticking. And that is why you have not heard certain voices on that matter as of yet. Because some people jolly knew exactly well what they did, could have done, and did not do. And so any problem like that, that is left unattended, there is the possibility now of what transpired to happen. And it's exactly what happened. The writings were on the wall. Just like King Nebuchadnezzar, it is said, saw the writing on the wall, and when interpreting meant your governance or your government, after being weighed in the balance, have been found wanting. And tonight, your soul is required of thee. Nebuchadnezzar, it is said, his knees started to rock and rumble. And so is it a case where not some knees, but some consciences now, after the death of Daniel, some consciences are ticking. And it is one thing, people, to be troubled by a man or men. It is one thing to be troubled, a totally different thing, to be troubled by your conscience. I rest. Dominicans, we are out of time. And I love to keep time. Although I'm not the keeper of time, but I love keeping time. So that's it for me. That is it for us in terms of our engagement for tonight. There's much more Dominicans in the tank that can be drawn from that matter, but we have to call it a night. Suffice to say, you will be getting a little more tomorrow on the Civic Vibes program, where one from the community, Brother Jeff Ballard, he will present himself to us tomorrow to basically tell us some more of what, he knew about Daniel. But I pledge to give you much more details in the upcoming or subsequent, as they say, programs to come. It is not done. Do you guys know Daniel, the deceased, built a jetty in Soufriere? Do you guys know that? Do you guys know that this brother built a school in Soufriere? That and much more next week, if the good Lord above is willing. Thank you, Dominicans, for your eyes and ears each and every time. There's a song that is in my spirit that I will leave us with before we leave. Alright, there's a song that is in my spirit. It is Calypso season, Dominica, so I will give us a little kaiso, you know. I'll give us a bit of kaiso. But that one is in my spirit. As it is a good way of bringing down the curtains on things tonight. Just pulling up that song. So Dominicans, that's it. See you tomorrow at 6 o'clock for another Civic Vibes program, where again, Jeff Bellot will be our special invited guest, a man from that constituency. That is for the second segment. And also for the first segment, we'll be having a sort of publicity campaign of an NGO in Dominica doing good for Dominica, have done good for Dominica. Israel Aid, that is a company, well, an NGO that is from Israel. They call themselves in Dominica Israel Aid. You want to hear what they're about to do still in the south of Dominica come next week, Thursday, Grand Bay to be precise. So if you guys have persons who want to start their own business, be it small or large, tomorrow's program will be cut for that, so you want to be in attendance. All right, thank you, Dominic.